Welcome to all. This is the this year's innovation push episode, and as said, this is the way for us to also one of the ways to move forward of within the innovation space of insurance. And for us, we've actually got very interesting topic for the year as well, and more to highlight what is it about. We've invited Sibylle Fischer. Welcome. You can go and have a few words of yourself and also the company, what you are. Where are you currently working in?
Yeah, I'm currently sitting in Basel because I'm working for Baloise, Swiss insurance company with subsidiary in Germany, Luxembourg, and Belgium, life and non-life insurance company. And I'm responsible for corporate venture capital, which we do with a partner, with Anthemis, a venture capital firm, but also overlook innovation stuff and also focusing there a little bit more personally on Horizon 2 and 3 stuff, so like the R&D department of Baloise.
Very good, very good. I think it's definitely a relevant topic as we come along with the discussions today. I think there's a lot of ground to be covered there. But going into our, this is the already the traditional question there, what we have, and this is usually being considered that's the most difficult one, is that from your aspect, why insurances are different in individual countries?
Oh, that's a difficult question, and
I know.
I think in general, I mean, it's the same. It's like bundling risk, and if a claim happens, make a claims payment or repayment to the one who experienced the claim. I think that's the base idea of insurance, like providing peace of mind, having solidarity in case something happens. And then there is all the stuff which comes on top, for like regulatory thing, just how the industry has grown historically. If you have broker markets, you have tied agent markets, you have markets where you have more direct distribution. And I think also what impacts insurance is also customer behavior. I mean, customers are used to certain things or have learned to deal with certain things and are accepting things more in certain countries than in others. I think also IoT, like in France, it's more towards IoT, while we have more trouble to implement IoT, for example, in the German-speaking regions, as far as I know, or direct-to-consumer distribution channel in the UK is more used than it is here in Switzerland. So I think just these like specific of a country that makes insurance different in certain regions sometimes, even that.
Is it from, because kind of if looking at it, still going into the background of insurance in within, and for example, there's the reinsurance, which they are really big companies who are reinsurers.
Yep.
So they, in the end of the day, they take the risk. Risk is risk in anywhere. But if you consider that, does it, if looking it from the aspect, and some of the things that also has been discussed already in other kind of, let's say, fintech/finance topics as well, on a European or even on a global level, do you actually see that they're actually pushing the industry to the same direction?
I think there are some tendencies or some signs or signals that the industry will go into a more European-wide. I think these are mainly the integrated stuff, like embedded insurance, where I personally see use cases which are more European-wide. Maybe the more digital will be more European-wide, but this is still a hypothesis. And then the other thing is where this reinsurance companies are big, like where they have to really bundle a lot of capital, and then it's like a worldwide business. And that's why I think reinsurance is really not a country per country, but a worldwide business to also balance risk.
Well, if considering kind of like from your aspect, you're working heavily with also new startups, with new companies which are coming into the industry. What do you recommend for these kind of, if you look at an approach for a startup, for example, and kind of having this mind that okay, there is differences in countries, there is differences in tendencies of how people buy things and how insurances are being distributed. What is kind of your take on if someone would come to ask from you, okay, where do I start? If you come into the industry, and where would I start?
I would recommend to start in a big home market, because I think it's always easier to start somewhere where you have like a big markets to conquer, and not go to make more, because I think to do market entry in the beginning is really, really hard. And if can you tackle at first a big home market, learn there, know how things are working out, and then go into the next market, that's the smarter approach than to start with a lot of market, because you often have to deal with regulators, and that it's complicated and it's time consuming. So I think reducing in the beginning complexity and start in one market is a good approach.
Well, if looking at kind of like if we consider the kind of like as said, startups are usually always looking into being a disruptive or somehow disrupting the existing value chain. And from the aspect of doing this disruption, is it so that when considering a large market area, yes, there are more players, but is the impact, what is kind of, because disruption not necessarily is coming within the industry, and if you look at it, some of the disruptors might be in number of countries already, and then they go into within the insurance segment area.
I mean, totally agree. I think some of the disruptors might not even be startups, but more other or tech companies. I mean, we don't like the tech company from Silicon Valley, like Google or Amazon, but with Alexa and also their data, and also the know-how how to deal with all this data and to make something smart out of it. But also like Tesla, who's integrating car insurance into the car. I think that could be really a disruption, or other technology like autonomous driving. Even these might be 10, 15 years, 20 years. I don't know how fast it will be, but these are disruption which is coming, especially not from the insurance itself, but from outside on the insurance. And there is huge potential that this will have a big impact on the industry. But often these companies are coming from a big market and start with one market first, and then go into a next big market where they offer these kind of services.
Yeah, but I'm just thinking of that if looking at it, and this is obviously you have excellent view there on looking into the new solutions. But if looking at here, especially from the investment point of view, for example, that kind of like, okay, let's have a startup. Let's start in let's say South Africa, for example, or something big. But then on the other hand, in order to start something in a big market, you need a lot of capital.
it always depends on you. What do you want to achieve? I mean, do you want to really conquer the world and become like world biggest insurer, or do you want to like tackle maybe Finland as a not so big market, but they're doing that good, and maybe you also finance yourself then differently than you would do if you want to like conquer the US. And I think that's always to be considered if you start something. What is also your best way to finance yourself? Because if you kind of
Well, but
accept
what
something, you are also playing the game.
yeah, but what do you then look at? What do you then look at if you look at venturing into and investing? What do you look at there? Is it more of the market size, or is it the solution, or how do you split these?
I
How do you
think
look at them?
it always depends on what also from our, as we as investor are looking at it. If we do it really on our corporate venture capital where we have financial targets, we look at, I mean, we first always look at the team. We always think the team must be really, really great, and no matter what, they will make it. I think that's the most important thing. And then it's certainly the market, and if it's really a product market fit, meaning are they tackling a real problem? But in early stage, it's really hard. But that's the pure venture capital perspective where we go for like financial return. If we look for like building our ecosystems, we may look for rather, does this fit into our ecosystem? Do we have a long-term perspective on how to collaborate with them? And these kind of questions, despite I think the team is always important.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that makes kind of like, and if from that aspect, I know that if you know, I think in the past, let's say a few years ago, there was a lot of startups who were disrupting more on the distribution side. But I think now, do you feel, is it more that kind of each, because in the end of the day, insurance is data. And basically data, before it goes into being kind of so you need to help a person, for example. Before that, it is all about calculating, doing data analytics, what kind of products and so forth. What do you see there? That do you see that there's can all of the areas be disrupted in the end? If you look at it on big scale, in insurance, within insurance, can everything be disrupted in it?
I think the core concept of insurance, like providing peace of mind, being there in case something happened, I do believe that this won't be disrupted. But I believe that you have a lot of potential way to disrupt how we currently do insurance. I mean, there's a lot of potential in underwriting, having new and other data, real-time underwriting, these kind of things, AI, automated processes, and this kind of stuff. This could be changed certainly. And also distribution channel. I think not, it won't be completely disrupted. I don't think that people don't want to talk to a broker or maybe a human being and collect some advice. But there are certainly ways to kind of embed insurance into certain stuff, especially if we go more into the direction of sharing things, of circular economy. I think there is also some potential for further disruption.
Yeah. Well, I think you somehow did answer the question as well, that kind of what is the role of a startup in that end user or end customer journey in the future, but what is kind of then the role for an end customer within an insurance product in the future? What do you see there? What is kind of, is it still, because I know that there are some products where you have more impact, and in some you have obviously still less impact. You don't have an impact. If I go and let's use iPhone as an example, I don't have so much impact of what does the new iPhone contain, but then you have other kind of products that you can tailor yourself very, very much. So
Yeah,
how do you see this? How do you see this in the future? How much the end user starts to take role there?
I think the core issue which the end user often has, at least I have it personally with insurance, that it's not the most compelling product to buy, because it normally is about thinking about what is risk, how much risk do I want to bear by myself, where do I want to protection. And I think the greatest thing which insurance company can do for an end consumer is to provide these kind of peace of mind. And it's easy done with like an iPhone, maybe also a car insurance, to provide this peace of mind. But potentially then it's also maybe the task of insurance company to provide good information that an end consumer is capable of better judge his risk, or how much risk he wants to bear by himself, how risk adverse is he, what does he really need to, or she needs to protect. And then it goes more into life and health insurance and health and wealth management and these kind of stuff, where the products can be tailored but can also become very complex. And there I think human advice for someone, a lot of people will also prefer in the future, or at least have the option to talk to a human being.
Okay, yeah. I think it's if all the different AI solutions what we've seen already now in the past few months, kind of like up to a certain point, they might be more accurate, but it necessarily it's still not in every case. I believe as well that not in every case that will be the end kind of there that saying that I only want an AI to give me feedback and I will be paying less for my insurances.
Yeah, I think, at least personally, we using sometimes AI chatbots, and then we asking them question, and the information they provide, it's amazing. But if I talk to a human being, to another person, I want to feel some empathy. I want maybe to share an opinion. And these chatbots, they just state stuff. But like helping me and find the decision, I think it's nice to talk to a person. Maybe also in real life and not only over a video chat or something.
Yeah, but I think it's definitely an interesting from your aspect, and obviously you don't have to disclose any company secrets there, but what would you be what are you looking for now within kind of within the scene, within the insurance scene? What are you looking for currently, if you look at kind of what is there next developing or cooking in the industry segment?
I mean, it's a tough environment macroeconomic wise we're currently in. Not only the startup scene, I think the whole economy, and it's a lot of uncertainty around. So I think we're maybe going more to the not so cycling products, where I think data is always interesting. I think sustainability and these kind of stuff will become more and more important, because it seems that weather and climate change does not stop. And we have to think about it, and also to think about what insurance can make a difference in these kind of stuff. Maybe also looking at stuff which might be a little bit boring, like process optimization, AI, automation. Maybe it's going back for the heydays and where everyone was looking for new B2C companies, but into really like, what can we make the whole industry more efficient?
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So if looking at the kind of the future of the industry as well, there up to a certain point, yes, there probably will be some new products, but it is heavily related to to how the industry can keep up. I think kind of like if you look at insurance industry, we were talking briefly before we started to the official part of the podcast is that, or the live chat was that kind of like venture capital, for example, what is coming into the industry. If it's dropping, then it means that the money needs to come in from within the industry itself, not externally being inputted from someone else. So if looking at it, it's not venture capital who is giving money for startups. It might be that an insurance company has to support the startup, for example, building something. Do you see this more as well then as kind of some kind of a pattern going to the upcoming year or even years now?
Yeah, I mean the ecosystem is still a very important role in the insurance industry. Is also, I think, a risk mitigator to just being disrupted. Therefore, I do believe that this will keep on going, and with building ecosystem, this does not only mean venture capital. This also means partnership, finding new ways of collaborating, new ways of engaging with customers, or build customer journeys. And I think this will become even more important.
Yeah, okay. Sounds sensible. Well, then the interesting question there, and kind of where we have already been around the topic there, but how innovative do you consider insurers are generally from 1 to 10?
I think it's really hard, because I think in general, the insurance industry just started with a being or seeing itself as innovative. So don't know, it's maybe a 3 or so, the industry itself, but I think within we have seen a lot of progress that insurance company has started, that they need to look out, to become more innovative, and to be aware that they need to look at trends and stuff which could potentially disrupt them, and also maybe think more in a life cycle than before. So I think we are moving towards becoming more innovative, even if this is in a highly regulated environment, as we have to deal with always a challenge.
Well, just picking up on the regulative part, and this is obviously in up to a certain point in and dependent on the country, but kind of there are a lot of insurance-like products as well. What is kind of what is the stake in within your company? Is it kind of like it needs to be in the insurance industry segment, or is it more broadly of looking that, okay, it's a technology solution that uses data and uses subscriptions, for example, to customers, instead of being a risk management tool within the insurance framework? How do you see this? Will it be more split than before?
You mean that there are some,
that there are products which are more kind of, well, you pay upfront, kind of like you pay more upfront money in order that you get a service back, which is not in that sense. You don't get a claims reimbursement or in a similar way as within an insurance.
I mean, it's always hard to tell, and often what we kind of see, and which is also learning, that these kind of products are built and then regulation is running behind. It reminds me a bit to like buy now, pay later, where they have started and it was not the consumer credit, and then there were some issues, and now there's regulation is keeping or starts to keep up. And I mean, at the end, the mean of the regulation is kind of customer protection. We can discuss if regulators always really protect the customer, or sometimes also like hinder like movement into more customer oriented or centric ways. But I think these kind of stuff, if we see then that there is a misuse or people start to get into heavily debt, then it's clear that regulation keeps keeps up and will come, and people also will ask for it. So I fear that this is the same with these kind of products.
No, I think definitely it's very dependent on how much data can be collected or how precise the data is. Definitely, I think that's kind of like in the past it's been less, kind of like the more it is on the people mindset, but if it's even more on a hardcore data which is really available in some terms, I think that is a big difference there that I do see. That because then obviously we have AI bots and these calculating a lot of topics in the background.
And if these AI bots are doing that a great job, that they protect people of buying stuff which is not good for them, or which bring them in trouble or will have a misuse, I think then we don't need these kind of regulation. But if it starts to get people into trouble, then a regulation will come back.
Yeah, true. Oh, and then as a last question, and then we can recap. For you, what does, you did open up it a bit, but kind of in a nutshell, what would you say, what does innovation mean for insurance industry or for insurance? What is innovation for them?
I think of thinking about other ways of doing business, but not other ways of doing business. Also, maybe to how can we diversify business? Are there new ways of integrating insurance into something different, or like with building ecosystems, are there new revenue streams which are easily open up in together with insurance? And I think that's innovation in insurance, and keeping track of important trends which might have a disruptive impact or a big impact on how we do insurance right now.
Yeah. No, and from my note, definitely it is the speed of calculation. I think the sheer speed of data which is there. I think this is, and the usage of it is yeah. I was reading this from my last note. Then I'll give you the word on kind of like that. I have to learn new kind of short versions of giga and tera and yotta and whatever there is, because the amount of data is piling up and it's being collected more and more onto servers that it is really ridiculous, I think, in long term. So kind of like definitely we cannot do it by manpower in the future.
Definitely. I mean, I think data will kind of reshape a lot of industry, but it will certainly have a big impact also on how we do business in insurance industry.
Yeah, and kind of, well, as from the question wise, kind of like the headline what we had, what if you highlight that okay, strategic venturing, sense or nonsense, how do you see where does your area will develop in the upcoming year or in the years? What do you see happening there?
I think it's, no matter how macroeconomics and things are turning out, it's important to keep like this radar function of what is out there, where do we need to have to adapt, where do we need to change, but also where do we have new potential for new business, to keep this up for being future proof and to not become irrelevant there. I think it makes a lot of sense for the industry.
Yeah. All right. Thank you, Sibylla.
You're welcome.
Thank you for the talk. And yeah, and that's a wrap for our first Insurance Innovation Push series for this year, and more to come in the upcoming months there. So thank you for everyone, for the listeners now, and then for the listeners who are seeing the recording afterwards. So bye from now from us. Thank you. Bye bye.